I'm going to use this under the Fair Use Act. I want to revisit this with you so I can help you to understand, or perhaps at least attempt to help you understand the things that I know. So this gives reverence to Ecclesiastes chapter 1 verse 9. And of course this is reiterated in many other places in the Bible about how there is no new thing under the sun. What has been will be again. Now, what I showed here was a video I did in December the 14th of 2020 about the doomsday. Synonymous is titled Synonymous Association. You can go back and look at that. Look at the Great Survey. It was about the Great Survey and the Doomsday Book. Now that's spelled D-O-M-E-S day book. That's the way the Old English spelled doomsday. That's the way it was spelled then, and how it related to the Gadsden flag. And you see that Gadsden flag, the don't tread on me with the serpent. And I showed in that video, the relationship to that back then, all the way back then, and how it related. And I just recently did a video, what had just recently surfaced and became a major topic, because they were talking about what had also occurred in the 1930s. But also remember, back in 1085, this had occurred then. But what we're going to talk about, or what I'm going to try to elaborate on, is, that Ecclesiastes 1 verse 9, how there is no new thing under the sun. What has been will be again. So here's just a small section of that recent video I did.
Last year, they called it the Doomsday Report. How many of you all have heard of the Doomsday Report? Brother Rudolph, what is the Doomsday Report? He was able to be there as they were putting this document together. What is the Doomsday Report? 25 words or less.
So this was also done in the 1930s, and you're seeing it done again. And this goes back to also point out about the birth pains. Birth pains come more and more frequently as it gets closer to giving birth. That is the important part. So this was done in the 1930s, and it's already being done again, but 1085. So these events happen throughout history, but many people cannot put them together. It's only through God He allows certain ones to be able to put these events together. But they happen because they happen in a multifaceted, multivariable way. Only God allows somebody to see the events before they come, because they happen in a different manner, but there's something that links them intricately. These things are interwoven. The parallel timelines are intricately interwoven, and it's only through a prophet that these things can be properly seen, deciphered, translated, and understood. This is why God always has to send a prophet, because only God can show you how these things are intricately connected. Let's put it that way. So these are the most recent events, and I'm going to explain to you, and this is just a small fraction of what I see, what I've seen, and what I understand, and what I know to be so, and why I could tell you then what was going to come, what it would come about through this. This is why I know things ahead of time. Because the only way you can truly get it, it's like experience. You have to experience something, and this is what gives you great wisdom, to be able to experience, to witness an event unfold so you understand what's coming as the result of an event. So the latter times that it occurred, let me put it this way. So there was a great survey that had occurred just before this event. And what I witnessed happen was with Donald Trump. I saw this Gadsden flag that had occurred, which had occurred in this time. This is when the Gadsden flag, the Don't Tread on Me flag, came into being again. And you saw this come into being again when Donald Trump had initiated another great survey, which was the census. This was a census that had occurred. And the reason they do these census is because what's coming after is going to be a taxing. There is a taxing event, and you have to understand fully the meaning of a taxing to fully grasp this understanding. So a taxing isn't just, and I'll show that to you, explain it. A taxing doesn't just mean a taxing like taxes we pay. And this great survey, this census that Donald Trump began when we saw this Gadsden flag reemerge itself, through these groups that were supporters of Trump. This had already occurred then too, but it had occurred at much later times. Do you people remember why Joseph and Mary had to travel? They had to travel because of a census. A survey was being conducted, and they had to travel to go take part in that census because a taxing was going to occur. There was a taxing, and the taxing isn't necessarily, it can, but doesn't necessarily have to mean a taxing of money. It can mean a taxing on the peoples. And of course, this is what you saw when the king sent out to have all the children killed that were 2 years and older, or 2 years and younger, when Jesus was born. Remember that. That is the taxing. So these events are multifaceted. There are many variables that are intricately interwoven, and depending on the direction, the choices that the people make is what dictates what direction these events will occur. So the only way somebody, a prophet, can determine that is to witness these events unfold, because they've happened in other times, other parallel times. But it wasn't just in the time of Jesus. This same thing also happened in the time of Moses. And again, those children, so the king at that time also had felt that the population, there's always an explosion of some sort. There's always, we're seeing the explosion of technology and many other things, but there was a taxing of the people in the time of Moses. And again, the king had all the children killed at that time also. And when he did this, again, realize what happened with the last plague, the final plague. God's wrath was poured out. This goes back to the Pentecost. So this also occurred in the time of Moses. The king saw that the people, it was the Jews that were taxing. The population explosion of the Jews were taxing the area. So the king decided he would have all the children killed. You also, in that there was a survey, you don't hear much about that. You don't hear that spoken of. There was a survey, a census that was done in that time as well. This is why the king knew that the population was taxing the surroundings, all the events that unfolded this at that time was similar to the same events that unfolded that led to all the killing of the babies during the time of Jesus, and so on and so forth. And again, these are just, I'm trying to give you a small amount of the knowledge that I have of these past events, the things that I've experienced, because the only way you can understand what is to come is if you know what has been. This is the role of a prophet, to understand and know, and it's in the atmosphere. That's the best way I can explain it. You have to witness the things that are occurring around you. You have to hear it. Again, what I point out about Revelation, 17:15, it's in the language. You have to be present to hear it in the language, the waters. You have to know what's occurring, because again, these words, everything that unfolds has a rippling effect. It all has a rippling effect in the waters, and you can feel it. That's what a prophet understands. A prophet can feel it in the atmosphere, so they can sense what's coming, because it has that rippling effect. You can feel the waves. You can sense all these events that are unfolding before they unfold, because it's in the atmosphere. So this is just a brief understanding. And again, this is why you hear none of these so-called prophets explain it in the manner in which I'm explaining it. They'll tell you, I've had a vision and I've had a dream, but it's in the atmosphere. It's something you sense. It's something that you've previously experienced, and that is the only way, because everything is so intricately interwoven, so delicately interwoven, that is multifaceted, with multi-variables that can go in any type of direction. So now we're seeing this taxing, this survey that had occurred with Donald Trump. He had another survey that he implemented just before the pandemic. Understand that he implemented his census just before the pandemic occurred. That's why I knew this doomsday book would be written again, that had occurred. But what you're seeing is these events that are getting closer and closer together, like birth pains. The last time was 1930s. The time before that, and it's happened in other events, I'm just giving you a few. See how far these things are separated. It also occurred in the time of Jesus. And then you look at the timeline between the time of Jesus and the time of Moses. It happened then. So these events are getting closer and closer together. 1930s, and we're seeing this unfold now. But again, it's multifaceted with multi-variables, and this is why I tried to show everybody and told everybody, the Proud Boys, the Oath Keepers, I reached out to them. I said, this is a trap. You're being trapped, because, again, they had, and everybody knew they had plans to regroup and go back. And I reached out and I said, you're being trapped. Donald Trump is trapping you. It's all a trap by Donald Trump. He's not your friend. He is your enemy. He is the Christian enemy. He is that serpent that has tricked everybody to accept him in. And that's why you saw them stand down, because I reached out and told them what was coming. That if they went forward, you would have exactly what you just saw in Kazakhstan. That was the whole purpose. That little small area, Kazakhstan, was just a small representation of what could have occurred here in the United States if they would have initiated that second wave and tried to go in. you saw that Kazakhstan had a huge Russian force come in, and it squashed that movement fast. And this is exactly what you would have seen in America. You would have saw Trump was trying, and now his false prophets are still trying, and Trump is still trying to get people to rise up, get stirred up. They're trying to stir the waters up to get this movement going, because all they're going to do if occurs, and this would fulfill the prophecy. This can go in any direction. This can go in multiple directions because there's multiple parallels. There's multiple timelines and parallels. Again, no new thing under the sun, but there's different parallels and different directions this can go. But what they want, the direction they want this to go, is the direction for Christians to rise up so that they can put them down, exactly what's happened in Kazakhstan and some of these other countries just recently. And if they can accomplish this, this will allow them, and even if it's a overall small group of Christians that attempt this, and that's what these false prophets and Donald Trump know, that if they can get just a small or large enough, but a small group of Christians to rise up and try to overthrow the government, this will allow the country, the leaders, the evil principalities to demonize all Christians. This will allow them to put Christians into camp and put a stigma on them and demonize them as crazies. And you see it. I mean, they're already pointing these ones out. They're trying to associate all Christians, put them in the same category as these Trump worshipers so that they can demonize them and say they're religious extremists and that they're terrorists and that they are a danger, so that they can begin to persecute and put them in camps. They're trying to make this prophecy unfold so that they can persecute all Christians. So be aware of this, people. And again, this is just a small fragment of my knowledge and understanding. God bless.